Okay, I just wanted to do one quick video here with regard to the layer blending options, the layer mode, the blending modes that you can use in Photoshop between layers. This is another example I'm pulling from Steve Kaplan's How to Cheat in How to Cheat in Photoshop CS6. What we're going to do here is we're going to, you can see in this in the layers panel here, we've got this pattern. We're going to take that pattern and in different ways we're going to manipulate the color of the jacket here and the texture of the jacket and what it looks like. And what these layer blending modes are going to do is they're going to allow us to change the way that the two layers interact with each other. So right now it's just invisible. So to make it visible, we got to make it appear there. So that's great. Now as you see here, we've got a jacket. I'm going to hide the pattern, hide the background. So we got the jacket already cut out. So what we can do here is we can actually make it so the pattern only appears over top of the jacket. And to do that, we're going to right click. You can't, it's kind of cut off here, but you can see the create clipping mask option. I'm going to do that, and now it just looks like he's straight up wearing the pattern. So right now we're in a blending mode already. It's called normal, and essentially what it's going to do is it's going to say everything that's on this top layer we're going to transfer down to bottom layers below it. Now this is essentially what you did for the project where you cut out magazine articles. This is all that you could do, is that you could put images over top of each other. But Photoshop can do a lot more things than just that. It can actually look at the pixels and combine the two images together. So you can see when I click on this where it says normal right here, I get a lot of different options here. A number of different tools that let us do different things. The normal and dissolver are essentially two. The normal is just basic, and these two are basically two miscellaneous categories. The next five are going to be ones that have to do with darkening the image. The next five after that have to do with lightening the image. The next 2, 4, 6, 7-ish have to deal with providing more contrast in the image. And then we can do some basic math between the two layers in terms of the pixel colors and how they interact and essentially to some extent invert them and manipulate them. And lastly, we can deal with just the color data. So we'll switch to dissolve first. And when we switch to dissolve, we don't really see anything. The other thing that dissolve is going to do is it's going to affect the transparent pixels between layers. So if we were to take the clipping mask off, I'm just going to release the clipping mask. And we have dissolve. It's not really, you can kind of see a couple pixels right here, but there's not really a whole lot. So I'm going to add the clipping mask back in. You can see them, it's still. So let's switch from dissolve into something else. Let's darken it. Let's see what darken does. So essentially what it's doing here is looking for the shadows, the darkest aspects of the image, and it's pulling those out. Now we are getting some of the texture detail here, but in the grand scheme of things, it's mostly the original jacket. Now we got a number of different options here. Generally, if we're looking to create a darker transition between the two images in some way, multiply is our best bet. So as you can see here, what we have is we have got a very dark jacket, but we've got a lot of that texture coming through from the top and still maintaining the texture from the bottom image as well. We get a really interesting pattern that comes through with multiply. Multiply is generally going to give us the best effects. We can do color burn as well, just to look at it. It's going to be darker than multiply. Linear burn is going to be darker still, and then darker color isn't going to give us a whole lot here. So we'll just move on. Again, multiply is probably our best bet in that case. We can also go with lighten. So whereas darken dealt with darker colors, shadows, aspects of that nature, lighten is going to deal with highlights and the brighter colors within an image. So lighten here we can kind of see it's not doing a whole lot with regard to the bottom layer. It's mostly taking most of the data from the top layer there. But if we go here, we can start to see some of the effects. Well, this doesn't look great because we can't see enough of the effects for it to be worthwhile. But screen, just like multiply, is our best bet for if we want to darken. Screen's going to be our best bet if we want to lighten something up. So color dodge, again, we get a little bit more quality, but it starts to look a little dodgier. It looks a little sort of brasher almost. We can do a linear dodge, which is even brighter. And then light color, which looks very similar to lighten, so we'll just skip over that. Now overlay and the rest of the contrast ones can really give us a lot of interesting detail with regard to pulling out both, sort of focusing the darker colors with things like multiply or darken, and the lighter colors with something like screen or lighten. So if we use overlay here, essentially it looks like we're picking up some of the darker details and some of the edges, particularly around the pockets here with some of the darker images. But we are getting a lot of that pattern coming through, and it's not quite as dark as multiply was. If we go soft light, soft light's really good if we want same sort of idea between overlay, but we want almost kind of like softer, if we want softer shadows and softer images of that nature. We can look at hard light, which is going to be more of an extreme version. It's going to be pulling out a lot more of the edges and things of that nature. In this case, the edges from the top image. Vivid doesn't look so great here. So again, these are some different contrast options that we have. Pen light and hard mix. It looks completely awful. We can look at some of these. These probably aren't going to look great. They look weird. Again, this has to deal with the basic mathematics between the different layers. So we've got difference, exclusion, subtract. This is just straight up black, although you can kind of see some detail in here. And divide. So divide's kind of interesting because it gives us different color information. It's going to actually affect the coloring information. Also, the last four can be pretty interesting depending on which layers that you have. So hue is essentially going to leave certain information, particular from the bottom layer, particularly things like the saturation and luminosity, and it's going to try and, and in particular, it's going to try and leave hue from the selected layer. Saturation is going to leave the hue so we can see the color from that image, but we're seeing more of the saturation from the top level. Color will straight up pick just the color from the image, so we get a little bit of hue, we get a little bit of saturation. And then lastly, we got luminosity, which is going to essentially take that back level as the pattern there. So this is the blending modes. There's a lot of power, again, with regard to how we can use them. So as you sort of continue to work on your projects, it's something to consider as you build multiple layers. How can the different layers interact with each other?